As I say, we'll try and answer the questions as they come in, and we're going to move on to the next presentation, which is from Ivana Dostalova. And Ivana is a photographer, CEO of Voitopi and My Universe Photography. She's a certified therapeutic photography facilitator, former full-time clinical scientist, neurobiologist, and indeed a Sony World Photography Award 2023 shortlistee. So we're going to hear from Ivana's presentation. And again, I'll just get that set up.
Hello, my name is Ivana Dostalova and I am Czech-based neuroscientist and photographer with 10-year experience in clinical science and 9-year experience as a professional photographer. At first, I would like to thank for this opportunity to talk here about my work and for the great experience with Neil Gibson's postgraduate certificate Therapeutic Photography. Thank you. I would like to briefly introduce you with the holistic methodology I have been developing and which uses photography and objectification of visual perception as one of the pillars how to work with brain neuroplasticity. In other words, how can the right images that we let come into our minds, that we systematically pay attention to, change our minds, our brains for the better. So let's get to know the seed that was seated. It is now proven that the brain can change itself continuously during the whole lifetime. This is brain neuroplasticity, which can occur in 3 ways. The first one is chemical signaling, the second one is by altering its structure, and the third one are functional changes. There is no neuroplasticity drug you can take. Brain neuroplasticity depends on the individual's behavior. In other words, training of new perceptions and behaviors leads to redirection, closing of the old neural pathways and creating, opening, beginning of the new ones. That means that behaviors that you employ in your everyday life are very important. Each of them is changing your brain. What is also interesting is that the ability of brain to change differs from individual to individual, and the term personalized medicine has arisen recently. The question for us here is what is the role of the photographs, visual pictures in this process, in the process of brain neuroplasticity? Sight is dominant sense, which significantly determines how we see and perceive ourselves in relation to others, ourselves in relation to the world and the world around. Photographs can represent and can be seen as a current capture of our mental image, representing its objectification through which we can perceive our mental image and to systematically work with it and thus learn. And that's the point where my universe methodology works with photographs. It uses it as visual objectification that can help in the process of brain relearning. At first, it is needed to be said that my universe methodology is not a therapy and does not use photographs as a part of therapeutic process. MOM is being developed as a kind of lifestyle medicine, life self-approach, which main goal is to lead to sustainable well-being and activation of self-healing process. MOM uses the combination of already known field of therapeutic photography and other photographic approaches, which I have learned during the journey of the photographer, and mainly photography evoked self-other relations mindfulness, PSORM, working with step-by-step tasks and facilitated visual photographic diaries in combination with other aspects, which is my own kind of using photography and will be defined a step later. MOM works with sight and seeing, with visual mindfulness, art of seeing and true perception, and defined walking and visual meditation to bring the brain through the waves which connect conscious and unconscious, these are alpha waves, to unconscious to the slowest delta waves. MOM will be delivered via defined programs from 10 to 20 weeks in duration and will be specifically discussed later on. Here, I would like to define photography evoked self-other relations mindfulness. PSORM is a methodical approach using photography, specific combination of photographic practices and therapeutic potential of photography for the objectification of mental image in connection with work with the principle of art of seeing and true perception through precisely defined step-by-step tasks working with brain neuroplasticity. The approach is based on proven neurobiological knowledge and uses defined visual mindfulness in the present moment and induced conscious imagination in the combination with photography and visual objectification to self-grow, self-awareness, self-knowledge, self-acceptance, self-kindness, and improving of relationship with ourselves, others, and everything around us, and with what we have been through and our brain stored in unconsciousness, leading to retranscription, relearning, and a happier and more joyful perception and experience of subjective reality and mental image. Here we have main pillars of my universe methodology clearly displayed. These are visual mindfulness, visual and walking meditation, neuroscience, Eastern philosophies, and photography. These pillars are combined purposefully and step by step and specifically to a certain group. The whole system is protected by Gauvrit approach, which I developed in its basis form during my photographic journey as a kind of safe and supportive relationship between the photographer and the photographed person, initially used for the photographic process itself, but later on it was meaningfully widened to a relationship between the facilitator of my universe methodology and the client. Gauvrit is a kind of safe space when during all the processes we use in my universe methodology we approach the client with humility, always with patient respect for his individual needs. Gauvrit adds to the exact scientific mind and spiritual soul part of the methodology non-judgment, unconditional acceptance and support for the client. The question now, when we are familiar with the skeleton of the system, its pillars and basis is, where is the magic of the methodology? Beside of the interconnection of more fields, why should it work? And the magic of my universal methodology lies in practice, training, and precisely defined, supervised, facilitated and evaluated steps, which need the close cooperation and relationship with the client, who needs to understand his responsibility over his own life quality, because everyday training in the form of step-by-step task diaries for each day for the entire duration of the program are an integral part of my universe methodology. Photographs are a genial tool for new brain circuits formation because goal-oriented objectification empowers the process of learning and retranscription. This graph represents the overall summary of steps how my universe methodology systematically works and mainly what are the effects when it is used appropriately. That means facilitated part of program is fully attended and exercises and practice are responsibly fully done. Using gold and defined visual and walking meditation, we continuously train the mind to wide and deep true perception and train the switching of the brain towards regular being mode during the everyday normal life. During each task, exercise, meditation leads to slowing to delta waves. In these steps, or in this stage, the phase of using photography evoked self-other relations mindfulness come to the game and we work with unconscious patterns during the first third or first half of each program because it is really difficult or practically impossible to build happy mind when unconscious patterns are hidden. After the first third or half of the program, we use the defined combination of therapeutic mindful photography and PESORM in combination with art of seeing and conscious imagination to redirect the old neuropath phase and to build new neuropath phase in a positive way. I have already implemented my universe methodology in a group of healthy women outside of the hospital via the pilot 10-week program. In this group, 2 out of 20 women reported untreated anxiety, 1 had depression treated with medication, others reported a variety of reasons when they decided to complete the program, from finding meaning and direction to I don't feel happy in my family, work and so on. This pilot program is evaluated by NETI questionnaire, which is scientifically recognized questionnaire. Pilot results of program for women have shown that program improves aspects of inner satisfaction, acceptance, gratitude, ease, identity, the self, vision of subjective reality, and others. Program also decreases worry or discomfort about past or future, or the feeling of fear or anxiety that inhibits my action. The woman with depression started to sleep better from the halfway of the program. She continued in daily training which she learned during the program, and now 4 months after the end of program she is free of any antidepressant medication. I am aware that this is a very pilot program. I see it as a seed that was seeded and it needs to be further well looked after. I ideally plan and work on introduction of the methodology to hospitals in a specific groups of patients and to further develop, validate and evaluate it. I would like to validate the methodology and its potential effects on changes in brain neuroplasticity via adipokines and other neuropeptides and neuroendocrine markers levels and by imaging methods. As a clinical scientist, I had been working with patients with eating disorders for almost 10 years. However, I felt that the tools and the type of the research I have been doing is not enough. That the roots of these group of illnesses are more complex and rather neurodevelopmental and psychosocial. As the statistics for recovery from anorexia are horrifying, based on American Journal of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, up to 1/3 die from complications of the illness, 1/3 remain chronically ill for the rest of their lives, and only the remaining third maintain some form of stable recovery. The call for some kind of other approach is alarming. Birds of Mine is standardly 20-week program for eating disorders, which uses my universe methodology to work with self-kindness, self-acceptance, self-compassion, body image, identity, self-perception, self-control, and personal life story in eating disorders. The main pillars of Birds of Mine program are my universe methodology basis, as described earlier in this presentation and specifically modified for eating disorders, Gauvrit approach, and work with positive brain neuroplasticity. In the case of eating disorders, standardly 1/4 of the whole 20-week program creates working with body image perception via specifically modified Gauvrit approach. However, sometimes the ratio between my universe methodology and Gauvrit approach during the program varies individually for the benefit of the client. The main aspects we work with on step-by-step via pictures, photographs, visual perception during Birds of Mind program are love, control, identity, neurobiological and psychosocial development. We are searching via the methodology for a kind of brain switching, a click, redirection of paths that were organized somewhere during the developmental and growing process and manifested later on. As Elizabeth Hook said in her TEDx Chicago speech, I believe that eating disorders truly reflect a desperate desire and failure to meet essential human needs. And I believe that these needs are what we need to understand in order to help people suffering through these illnesses. Tasks during the whole Birds of Mind program are not about eating and food, because the illness itself is not primarily about eating and food. Much more important task is how to find identity when mind is blinded by eating disorder, and what was the starter of the disorder, what leads to awakening of sleeping developmental pathology, and can pictures help to find the way out? And how to find control over the mind lost in the ball of neurodevelopmental and psychosocial playground with unclear rules? Can we take control over the mind via reframing of the self-picture? Last year's positive effect of classical mindfulness in treatment of eating disorders has been proven. However, what is the effect of changing mental perception via visual mindfulness and pictorial objectification is unknown. I think that to study the potential of mental objectification via photographs on brain neuroplasticity and neuroendocrinological setting is a great call for future research, and I hope that my universe methodology could be one day recognized as valuably complementary therapy for patients with eating disorders, which has a proven effect in searching for causality of eating disorders and improving patients' quality of life. Photography and science should no longer be seen as two. There is photographic science in every photographic process, and there is a strong potential and place for photography as a tool in scientific research. If you are interested in my universe methodology development and would like to stay in touch and connection, you can follow general public web pages covering the activities or follow us on Instagram. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ivana. And we're going to go straight into the next presentation, which is by Caron Toshiko from Indonesia. Caron is a psychology practitioner and has an interest in photojournalism, and she graduated in psychology for her bachelor and master's degree. Her focus is on social and mental health issues, and for more than 8 years, she has had experience in program management for international organizations and is currently working full-time in a digital technology education company. Since 2014, she founded and has been running a photo book gallery, an independent publisher based in Indonesia, with her partner. And of course, she recently graduated from the PG Cert in Therapeutic Photography. So I'm going to play Caron's presentation.
Hi everyone, it is lovely to meet you all here today. I am Caron from Indonesia, and today I will be talking about how photojournaling can support individuals in processing their feelings and thoughts. And I will be exploring how taking pictures and documenting events and experiences might improve how you and I both perceive ourselves to the world. First, let's define what journaling is. Journaling is writing down our thoughts and feelings in a journal as a reflective tool that helps us understand things better, and it also entails a cyclical process of observation and reflection. We can better analyze and make sense of our emotions and experiences by putting our ideas and feelings in writing. While photojournaling is the practice of using photography to document our experiences, thoughts, and emotions. Photographing our surroundings as well as self-portraits or other representations of our inner world are examples of what it can entail. After that, we can turn to writing to make sense of the photographs we have taken. When I was a kid, I used to write a diary to explain what I felt and experienced. Bullying happened to me, and it was a traumatic life event that negatively impacted my emotional health. and made me afraid to voice my opinions. As time went on, my interest in people grew, and I decided to major in psychology for both my bachelor's and master's degree, to better understand the complexities of the human condition, the variety of human characters, and to discover the larger context that influenced my childhood experiences. In addition, my interest in photography as nonverbal communication has helped me to communicate my feelings and thoughts to foster healthy social relationships, particularly with myself. So I combine these two things, psychology and photography, to increase my self-awareness and discover fresh perspectives of people and the world. So I do photojournaling to externalize my thoughts, my feelings, to make them more concrete and easier to process. By deciding what to picture and how to frame it, photojournaling can also give me a sense of control and help me stay in the present. I'm forced to slow down and really pay attention to what is happening around me. Thus, I can create a narrative that reflects and incorporates my unique perspective and experiences. This can be such empowering, especially in situations when I'm feeling helpless or overwhelmed. So let me provide some examples to illustrate how photojournaling works for me. Initially, I start my photojournal either right after I get up in the morning or right before I go to bed at night. I come across an image that perfectly captures how I'm feeling at the moment, or an image that I took randomly that day or from the previous days in my gadget archive. Next, I try to interpret the photo based on the memory or emotion that arises when I see it. By taking photos of my surroundings or choosing photos that remind me of the person, event, or relationship, I begin to reflect and process my emotions and make sense of what I'm feeling. The photographs I snap or select might reveal patterns and circumstances that are present in my inner world. Also, it can help me to contemplate and memorize unfinished particular things that might affect my life, and to reflect on how my perceptions of the place or culture have changed over time. So during the pandemic era, I compiled all my photojournals into one book titled Mother's Letters in the Time of Corona, Stay Home, Keep Growing, which I will leave as a legacy to my children in the future, whom I don't know exactly now. So this will let them know that their mother is a survivor. Through this photojournal, I was talking and writing a letter to my future children. However, I realized that when I wrote a letter, I was actually talking to myself, with my inner child, talking about unfinished business from the past that I was never confronted with or hesitant to bring up, as well as previously unspoken things related to my relationship with my parents, sisters, partner, and my surroundings. So with photojournaling, I may therapeutically externalize my inner world and learn new things about myself and my experiences. In addition, I also use photography as a tool to encourage those around me or in my community to talk about subjects that are taboo to talk about, such as concerns of gender identity and sexuality, which have grown into research topics for me to be able to continue my PhD studies. In conclusion, photojournaling is an effective method for expressing our thoughts and feelings. you will be astonished by what you learn about yourself and the world around you if you give it a try and see how it can help you on your own personal journey of self-discovery. I am very welcome to receive any kind of feedback, and if you would like to contact me for further discussions, please reach out to my email. Thank you.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much. And some really nice feedback in the question and answer sessions there as well. We've got a little bit of time to take some more questions live in the question and answer box. I mean, Caron, there's obviously a couple of comments there. One from Adrian, who says it's really touched his heart. Adrian was diagnosed with complex PTSD a few years ago, but struggled to express what he was feeling. And so used photography. So seeing that feedback, Caron, how does that resonate with your experience with taking photographs and using photographs for photojournaling?
Okay, yes, thank you, Neil, and thank you, Adrian, for your comments. I really appreciate that my video touched your heart, and I know exactly how it felt to do the journaling. It helped me, to verbalize that, unfinished business or anything that I can speak or share directly to my friends or my family. So hopefully through this journaling, Adrian can also help you to overcome your PTSD and other anything that you would like to resolve.
Thank you. Excellent. Ivana, I was going to pick up on your presentation as well. I mean, it's really great to see the evidence base for using therapeutic photography growing, and clearly your work taps into that. Do you find at the moment that the evidence base is helpful, or, you know, in terms of the work you're doing, do you find that there's enough evidence out there to reinforce the work you're doing at the moment?
Actually, yeah, for now, like for evidence-based, for me still, yeah, I'm still learning also, and yeah, for the evidence-based this kind of activities, I mean, yeah, it depends on everyone. For me, it's really give me an impact, but also it also gives the knowledge for myself as well. But in fact, it depends on the people.
Good stuff. Thank you. And Ivana, with your own work, do you find that the evidence base is there to support what you're doing with photography?
Yes, thank you, Neil. I think for me as a scientist, it's normal to have everything evidence-based, but I think in this case, I'm at the very beginning. I have to say that, of course, for me, it's important because I would like to introduce the methodology into scientific research, so it's important for me. But I still searching for and looking for how to take an evidence. I'm searching for the steps, and it's difficult. It will be protocolized, and I'm at the very beginning, I have to say. But for me, yes, it's important to have an evidence, of course, yeah.
Great stuff. And yeah, thanks everyone for attending this session. We're halfway through now, so we've seen 5 very different presentations, and hopefully it just gives you a sense of the enormous potential that's out there for using photography in a therapeutic setting, because it's not, you know, it's not about prescribing one way and sticking to that. It's about recognizing the power and the potential, but also underpinning that with technique and being clear about, as I said earlier on, about the outcomes that you're aiming for as well. So you can see from the 5 presentations so far that very different approaches, but all have the confidence to do so because they understand the dynamics of photography, they understand some of the underpinning theories that are maybe chiming with people who are using the photographs as well. So we've got 5 more presentations to go. Hopefully you will still enjoy the presentations still to come. Please keep using the question and answer box. And remember, I will be sharing the link to the Community of Practice website as well, where you can continue the conversation, get in touch with the participants, the graduates here, and continue that conversation to inform your practice.